It is wintertime, but it sure feels like spring. We've got a whole lot we need to get done today. A lot of small things we need to kind of get wrapped up, and we got some trees to plant. But before we get going on that, let's take a look at this beautiful sunrise this morning. So we definitely have some warmer weather moving in. I want to share a lot of updates with you guys today. But before we get started with all that, while it's still nice and cool this morning, let's get some chores done. And of course, the first thing that requires is manure morning. So I'm gonna go over here and take care of the pigs while Lori takes care of the chickens. Give you a shot there of what we got going on here in these two piles. Hopefully you can see them both behind me here. The original one we've kept covered and water it basically every day. So this first pile that we had for the first couple months is definitely starting to shrink down as it starts to compost down. And then of course we got the second pile that's catching up really quick. So you can see this morning we got pigs awake, having breakfast, doing the morning thing, which includes more manure, of course. I need to head over to Lori and help her out with chicken chores, get those wrapped up to get on to the rest of today's stuff. I get a shot of the chicken manure pile piling up really good. So again, we talked about it before, but we've got month of February is actually one of our fertilizing months. So we'll be fertilizing here in the next week or two. And I don't know for sure whether we'll be using this chicken manure on all or most of the trees, probably a few. But either way, we've got plenty of it there. One other thing I wanted to kind of show you, we talked about giving you guys some updates. We have a couple more things we still need to prune and we're running out of time. I'll show you why here in just a second, but these are the ever-bearing mulberries that we have as our hedge right up here against the chicken coop and run. You can see it's wintertime here, obviously, so this is the western sun behind me. We want to make sure we're protecting these chickens during the summertime with plenty of foliage on these, but during the wintertime, they're just fine this way because, of course, the sun is that way, and so it's not pushing in on them directly. Okay, so still need to get those pruned. I'm gonna be doing that this weekend. Got a couple other things, but one of the reasons why pruning is really on my mind, and it should be on yours too if you're here in Arizona, is we already know that we have a couple of trees that come out of dormancy first and kind of signal us as far as that's concerned. One of those would be our Florida Prince peach trees. And if you guys are here in Arizona, you're seeing the same, but hopefully you can pick this up on camera. We have new leaves and flowers here on the Florida Prince peaches. So we know these are our earliest peaches. All four of these have broken dormancy. We've got flowers on them and we have the leaves growing. The rest of our peaches are still completely dormant, and going this way, if you look back that way, you'll see the rest of our stone fruit, we checked them last night, they're all dormant as well. So we do know that once the Florida Princes break bud, we also have apple trees that are doing the same. In fact, I want to bring you guys over here to our garden beds, get a shot of those here in a sec. But more importantly, this is our potted apple tree. This one I had a feeling was probably gonna be our first one to break dormancy because it's in a pot. And as soon as you get those warm days, the roots start warming up, signals the tree to go ahead and break dormancy. And you can see this one's fully broken as far as the dormancy is concerned. Lots of new leaf growth on here. I don't quite see any flowering yet, which is kind of a bummer. Usually you see that where you're gonna be getting fruit, but I don't see that yet. However, this one's broken dormancy. Give you guys a quick shot of the garden beds. Not quite as strong as we were hoping. We got the seeds in kind of late, but we do have some. What's really most impressive is actually over here. So here's, I'm kind of just walking through what's basically become our daikon beds. You can see these here just blowing up, and more importantly, right here, you can see these guys here. They're actually flowering now and they're gonna be putting seeds on. Now we have some ideas with what we're gonna do with this daikon in these beds in particular. We're actually going to share that in another episode, but I thought this was kind of funny. This daikon right here is pushing right up through the top of it. So that radish is 3.5 or so feet tall. And it just looks amazing. Give you guys another shot of this bed.
Here, you guys see this one.
Just solid. And then Lori wants to point out one in particular. Hopefully you guys are gonna be able to see this. I don't know, I'll try to get a close-up shot. Seeing daikon like that has got me thinking a little bit about growing soil and preparing beds, and I'll share that with you guys here in another episode. Okay, we still got a lot we want to do with you guys today, but there is another update I need to give you guys up front real quick that for some reason I must have missed because it's not new. We're up front here where we have our loquat trees. One of the things that I had some questions when we planted these here in the fall was timing as far as planting these loquats. And we talked about the fact that loquats actually do really well in our winter times, and we want to make sure we get them in the ground in the fall because we want root growth to start pushing growth into these trees before you get into the summertime, which is actually where they really start to struggle, especially their first year or so. This tree is not doing quite as well as the other ones, and it might be kind of hard to pick up on camera, but we already know I'm getting new growth out of here. The main reason why, we paint these trunks, and you can see that the paint itself is starting to split right here. So you've got kind of these, I don't know, earthquake kind of cracks in the ground, you know, that desert looking ground right here, but you can see that's from the expansion of the trunk. So you can see that's actually starting to grow out. I'm gonna have to take this tape off. In fact, I'm just gonna do that now. There we go. That we have some new growth right here. We had some flowering that was trying to go, so I cut the flower buds off of here, and you can see it's pushing new growth from here. So now this tree is our smallest of our loquats. Let's go take a look at the others. This here is our big gem loquat, and you can see as far as the trunk is concerned, we have our rootstock here. So these are growing from the rootstock, not worried about it, it's still loquats. But you can see that splitting in the paint real well here. So again, a great indicator that we have some growth. Here we go. Get that off of there. Great indicator that we have growth, and then of course we can see it here right in the middle of the tips of each one of these starting to get some new growth pushing out there. We need to get these stakes out of here. I don't think we're gonna need those anymore. The roots are obviously establishing well to see trunk growth like that. One last one, we've got one more over there that we're not gonna show you. It pretty much looks the same. But if Lori comes in a little bit closer, you'll see just this amazing fruit set that we have going on this brand new tree. And I can't remember if this is our gold nugget or which one this is, but either way, you can see how we have these flowers setting. We were here the other evening and lots of bees going around pollinating these flowers, but you can see that flower head. So now a lot of those would turn into loquats. And of course, this small tree, I'm not interested in that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and carefully take off just the very tip, like that. So give you an idea of just that cluster of flowers. Looks a lot like a mango. You can see how I took that off. I wanted to keep as much of the new leaving out. So I want those leaves to stay. And then of course that'll heal over and push more growth out this way. So take that one off. I've got another one as Lori comes around. You can see here, I've got the exact same thing going on here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find my last leaf, which is right there. He may have to come off because I want all the flowers to come off. Just like that. You can see I'm gonna leave as much of that branching as I can in there. And then that's that clump of flowers that would have been loquats, but I'm not gonna allow it to do it. And then of course the splitting on the trunk is happening here just like it was on the other ones. So you can see that in there. So we got, whenever you see that splitting in that paint, you know that the trunk is growing, which means we have root growth down below, which is exactly what we wanted to see with these loquats through the wintertime. Now, this week we're gonna be 70 degrees, 50 degrees in the morning. Beautiful, beautiful weather. These trees are really gonna start aggressively growing, which is exactly what we want. They're in the ground, roots are establishing. They're gonna get at least 2 or 3 months of beautiful weather to really establish those roots, start establishing growth on these trees, and then fingers crossed they'll do really well here this summer. We're over here on the Eastern Orchard, and you'll see behind me, we are gonna be doing some planting with you guys here today, and kind of Give you an idea of all the stuff strewn all out behind me here. We have the tractor actually in for its 50-hour service, so we don't have the tractor this weekend. So fortunately, with these trees, we had already put wood chips on the ground, so we have a good amount of wood chips here, but we won't be able to finish the wood chips today, unfortunately. However, we can get these trees planted with you guys. We wanted to do that on today's vlog. So the 3 trees we're planting are going to just about wrap up this whole pome fruit section here. Where we're located, we're basically right between our pear trees, the quince that we planted with you guys a couple weeks ago, and then the figs that are in the back. And the figs have not broken dormancy. Pome fruit really hasn't either, but that means we need to get these jujubes in the ground. Now we got these 3 jujubes from One Green World, and they are one variety you guys will recognize. It's a Lang jujube, and then there are 2 varieties I had never heard of before. I don't know what it was with jujubes this year. We had a hard time getting them. We tried to get some from one supplier. They didn't have them, and we had a hard time finding them, but we did find these. They're much smaller. They're in 1-gallon pots, but the trees themselves look good. So let's go take a peek. The 3 varieties we have, this one here is an Empress G, or G, G-E-E. Again, haven't seen this before, so we're going to be testing this one out, see how it does. This one here is the Lang jujube. This one I am familiar with, and very easy to find these ones typically, but more of a traditional variety. And then this one here is the Aunt Admire jujube. So again, another one that I haven't seen before. And so I'm looking forward to these 2 varieties that are new, and then of course this Lang that is pretty common. So Lori and I are going to get a few things together here, and then we're going to go ahead and get to work and get these trees planted with you guys. We'll probably stop a couple times to give you guys a couple updates. One nice part about a small pot like this, you don't need a very deep hole, but I wanted to show you guys the amazing root growth on this tree. You can see it's wrapped around a few times, so I'm gonna loosen this up a bit before we plant it. But either way, very good root growth. This is the Lang jujube. And then also, we talked a little bit about this before, but that right there is the grafting point. So again, a grafted tree. So this is the Lang variety right here, from here up. And then at this grafting point, you can see where you have the rootstock, this little nub of the rootstock. I'm gonna make sure that's pointing north. Again, just to keep that out of the direct sunlight to the south. Just wanted to point those 2 things out. And then of course, you guys already know we plant above grade. I know my root crown, this is a very, very young tree. So my root crown is gonna be right about here. And I'm gonna have that about 1 inch or 2 above ground. So we need to go ahead and get this tree in the ground, but I want to show you that. I will loosen up these roots just a bit, just kind of tease them out as we get this tree in. We're gonna test the water for the first time here. We have our HydroWise controller. Hopefully you guys can see this on camera. I don't know whether you can or not. These are all of our zones that we have here. And right now we are on East 1. So I'm just gonna tap East 1 and it's gonna have a little play button there. That's how long we're actually watering in this zone. I'm gonna talk more about that here in just a second. But for now, what I wanna do is just go ahead and start the water. Make sure everything's working okay. I kind of want to explain the rings that we have, that we've basically come up with as far as how we're really wanting to try to focus on irrigation and maximizing tree growth. So you guys know, if you've been following us for a while, on the old property we actually had drip irrigation. That was mainly because we were on a shared well and we wanted to make sure that we weren't draining the tank. There were 5 homes on that tank and it was 2,500 gallons. So we actually designed it so that we never drew more than the pump actually would give us, which was about 12 gallons a minute. That way we kept good, happy neighbors. But here on this farm, we've obviously designed it so that we can use flood irrigation, which is preferable. Again, not required. You saw how well those trees did there, but we prefer to do this more bubbler type irrigation. We think that'll give us a better result as far as the trees are concerned, and so far it's working well. Now the challenge, of course, is getting the smaller trees watered from the same irrigation that larger trees, as Lori scans that way. We have our larger fig trees here that are on this exact same line. And of course, if we have to replace trees or anything like that, we've got to be able to water a small tree in a small ring, as well as watering these bigger trees. So you saw on our controller, we're going to be watering this for 120 minutes. That's 2 hours tonight, because we haven't gotten rain for about a week, and I want to deep soak some of these trees before we get to fertilizing here shortly. So the way we have the ring designed is we have basically a channel that goes into the middle to the small tree. You guys already saw how we talked about the berm and the swale. It's already starting to work there now. So we have the swale in the middle, the berm's on the outside. The water will basically leach into the inside ring for the small tree, as well as leaching to the outside. That will encourage those roots, those strong roots that we saw, to actually come out and away from the tree, which is what we want. We don't want them trying to go down through that caliche. Let's get them out into, the 2 to 3 feet of good soil that we have. So we have the inside ring in this small channel. Then what we have is we have a larger channel on the outside, and you can see we have a buildup here. We dug the channel here. This was ground level, and then you saw we went with the tiller and actually have a lower area here. So as that inner ring fills up tonight, because we're watering much heavier than this tree needs right now, this lower berm right here will be a spillway. So as that backs up, you can see it started to. As that backs up, the water comes into here, even through the wood chips that act like a French drain, much like these rocks do. The water will spill over into this larger ring and start to build soil out here further away from the tree. So the advantage this tree has is water now, roots coming out, and then what those trees didn't have at first, which is more soil out here to grow into. So now what we also do is we make sure, because we have a lot of water that's going to back up this way, we have to build this back berm nice and high and real deep. Then what I do is I have rocks inside the bubbler here, which acts like a French drain, and then dirt that's basically packed in behind it to basically push water this way. At the same time, water's going to start basically turning this very hard dirt into, well, clay again. So nice solid clay, and build up a berm on the outside. Then what I do is fill rocks up to about the bubbler head here, rocks around here, so again, it allows water to flow through and out towards the tree and keeps the water, generally speaking, from backing up this way. So that allows us to water small trees on the same zone as we're watering larger trees that need a lot more water. So just wanted to explain that in more detail. What Lori and I need to do is get this rocked in really well, make sure that the other trees are going to work as far as the irrigation is concerned. One last thing, the paint on the trees, I do want to clarify because I always get questions about that. That is the Arizona's Best white tree trunk paint. We get that from Home Depot and Lowe's here. It's a 50-50 mix, from what I understand, of indoor latex paint and water. It protects the trunk from sunburn. We lost our first Anna apple tree in 2012. 2013 is when we lost it. Planted it in 2012. Got real bad sunburn where the sun just scorched the trunk. Tree died the following year, so we don't take any chances. We make sure that we have those painted to protect from sunburn until there's a nice thick canopy of leaves that'll do that on its own. All right, Lori and I are off to finish planting these trees, and then we'll come back. Okay, this will give you an idea of how the 3 trees are gonna look here, just like that. So we've got those 3 Jujube trees in the ground. That just about completes all of the plantings that we have here on the eastern orchard, which is our pome fruit. Give you a shot of that there. And there's 36 trees on 2 different irrigation lines here. And the total trees we have in the ground with these 3 going in today is 146. So not quite at 150, but we still have more planting to do this spring. Lori and I were looking at the date last year that we planted the very first tree, which was, I believe, our honey mandarin tree, and that we planted on March 22nd. So we still have another month-ish, almost a month and a half, before we have our first year under our belts as far as how many trees have been planted, and we're at 146. Okay, we need to do a secondary ring on the Weeping Santa Rose tree that we planted, but there's one other thing I want to point out to you guys here real quick. So I'm here on the back 40, you can see the corner of the property there, and behind me there would be the completed mulberry and pecan row. So we have all the trees back here are designed to be, 30, 40, 50 feet tall. And it's the backdrop to the farmhouse. You can see the farmhouse is way up there. So the trees that we planted, we didn't get them on video for you guys. We planted them last Sunday, are actually black Pakistan mulberries that we got from Greg Peterson. Now what's a little unique is the fact that they are potted. Usually he is selling these as bare root, but he didn't get enough from Dave Wilson, and he got these. Here's what one of the black Pakistan mulberries looks like. And you can see it's nice and tall, so we've got it still probably, I'm gonna say it's about 4 feet tall, actually a little over 4 feet, because this cage is 4 feet tall. And looking at it now, we actually have, what's nice about these, we know they're alive because there was leaves on them, but we've actually got, looks like some buds, even just since last Sunday, since planting them, wanting to come out. And then looking back this way, you can see, there you go, it's a better shot. Give you a good shot of the row. Have that one tree behind us there. There are 11 additional trees that go back this way, and that completes this whole area that we have for all of the larger trees. So we're excited to have these going in. We're still kind of deciding what we want to do over here. I'm gonna spin this way. Right now we have that last acre. We've got a full acre on that side, which is gonna be a livestock acre. We'll have pigs, smaller livestock, pigs, sheep, goats, things like that are gonna be on that acre there, which we haven't started developing at all. That's the plans for later this year, hopefully through the summer. That'll be fun. But we need to get some fencing done, which we're gonna do along with our new neighbor on that side, and it's gonna be something a lot more permanent than the temporary barbed wire that we have up here now. So was able to get a few updates in there for you guys. We have to get some pruning done this afternoon. Tell you what, if you guys have not done your pruning yet, gotta get that wrapped up, especially if you're here in Arizona, because spring is right around the corner. But we have our live stream tonight, so hopefully by the time you guys are seeing this, hopefully we've actually had a conversation tonight, which was last night. We'll see you guys next week. Oh my goodness. My nose still running. Yeah, nose is still running. Got peaches breaking dormancy and my fingers are frozen and my nose is running. Come on. Oh yeah, go ahead. No, that was actually...
What?
I was texting somebody special. Okay.